And so we have identified a genetic sequence on chromosome 7 of DNA, which was the opposite of what we thought originally. We originally thought there's some special gene that makes people psychic superstars, and we'll find what that is. And so we got people who are psychic from psychic families and controls who are not psychic from non-psychic families, and did a standard case control study, which is what you do with genetics. So we found this difference between the two, but the difference was that it looks like most people who are, quote, average, normal average people, they have capacity for psychic ability. It's these other people, still a pretty large proportion of the population, we think, maybe 40%, we don't know exactly, who don't have this particular gene. And by not having it, their capacity for having these kinds of experiences is much, much lower than the average person. So this is kind of backwards, because we're basically saying it looks like everyone can have these experiences, except this group of maybe 40% who end up being extremely skeptical because it's not part of their experience, and they don't know how to make it part of their experience. And so one of the people working with us is a specialist in sociogenetics, which was a discipline I didn't even know existed until he started working with us. And what it's about is looking at the genes of a population and how that orients a population towards certain kinds of beliefs and certain predilections. So he did this analysis and found a very strong correlation between and this is a negative correlation. We were originally saying, well, maybe the Druids have, that portion of northern Scotland or Ireland, maybe they have more psychic ability because they have legends about such things. We found the opposite. We found a place that has a deficit of people with psychic talent. And from a socioeconomic or a socio-historical perspective, it turns out to be Christianity. So we're thinking this is Holy Roman Empire plus or minus a couple of countries over time. There's a deficit of this particular genotype, basically.
So you mean the geographic birthplace of Christianity? You don't mean Christians around the world in general?
No, it's like the birthplace, and then high density is going to be near that birthplace. Uh-huh. So we're talking about probably Italy, Spain, a few countries around there, which are still heavily Catholic. There's a deficit of this gene, of this sequence. And so in thinking about that, we were trying to figure out, to get rid of a gene in a population, first of all, takes many generations, but also something has to happen. I mean, evolution does things because there's a need. The need could be that the environment changes, or it could be endless wars. It could be all kinds of things. In this case, all we could come up with as a speculation is the Inquisition.
Yeah, I was going to say that people were persecuted for displaying anything like this. They were accused of witchcraft and so on.
And so those genes were not passed along.
Interesting.
So that this is the speculation at this point, except that the correlation is pretty strong.